What is good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Josh from Raiders Reviews, and this is a different type of video that I'm doing. This is really just like something that I just want to give my opinion on. And because like this is, if you saw by the title, this has definitely been something that's kind of been talked about throughout social media the past like couple weeks now, and that's the easy question of, are comic book movies dying? Now, I just wanted to make a quick little video just to give like my outlook on it, my opinion on it. And in my opinion, I feel like comic book movies aren't necessarily dying, but it's just the phase that we are in. And like the phase of where comic book movies are in this day and age is in a weird space because like in my mind, I just feel like we're at a point where every year we're getting a superhero film. Every single year we're getting a comic book related film. And I feel like that's just in a way oversaturation, because even though I love superheroes, it kind of feels, I don't want to say redundant, but in a way, so far this year at least, of all the films I've seen in theaters so far, and I've seen like 3 or 4 films in theaters so far, I've enjoyed a lot of other films that I've seen in theaters than superhero films I've seen this year. Because like this year we've gotten Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Shazam! Fury of the Gods so far, superhero films. And if you saw my reviews for that, I didn't necessarily hate them, but like I just felt like they weren't really that good. They weren't really that great. They weren't great, but they weren't bad either. They were just in like the meh, fine, good area. But then there are films like John Wick Chapter 4 or like Dungeons and Dragons. Those 2 films I absolutely love. I was having a discussion with a friend, with one of my friends earlier, a little bit ago, and pretty much talking about how those 2 films alone, I think are the best films of 2023 so far, beating superhero films. Because if you've been watching this channel, you know I absolutely love superheroes. That a lot of my content is related to watching superhero trailers and stuff. So, but then and I think that's just mainly because of just our expectations of how superhero films are. And what I mean by that is just like, perfect example with Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to be using that as an example. When I found out they were going to be making a Dungeons and Dragons film, I was like, okay, interesting concept. It could possibly work but with how much lore there is in that world, it could be a little complicated because I've never played Dungeons and Dragons before. But then the film comes out, the trailer's released, and this film is incredible. I literally went into that film thinking, okay, it's probably just gonna be kind of like an okay film, a mid film, okay. But when I got out of that theater, I said that it was one of the best films I gave it a 10 out of 10 because I absolutely loved that film. That movie is so much fun. And then we have a film like John Wick Chapter 4, which is literally nothing but perfection. That film is so incredible because of Keanu Reeves, the action sequences, just how much fun those films are. And then we have films like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Those 2 films, in my opinion, kind of went under it, kind of are in a gray area because of 2 different circumstances. With Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I feel like with that film, it flopped so bad because of mainly due to CGI and VFX usage. Because if you guys didn't know, all of Phase 4 and hopefully after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a lot of people were complaining about the VFX issues that were happening at Marvel and how everything looked really rushed and not properly done well. And if you've been on Marvel news in general these past couple of weeks, you know that that's hopefully going to be fixed. And hopefully when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out, that film will be I'm sorry if you hear that noise outside. That is the sound of a car, of like a car honking. Sorry about that. But back to what I was saying. With Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that film really failed when it came to the VFX of it, because it like, if you saw my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, you know that I absolutely did not like the VFX for MODOK. That just did not look good. But like with films like The Marvels, which was a film that was meant to come out in July, it's now delayed to November because they're now giving it more time for VFX. And if you saw my reaction to it, I actually enjoyed it. I thought the film looked pretty good. The film looks pretty good. And then with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, that film, it really went on par with how the fandom is really thinking, why do we need to watch the 2023 DCEU films, when in reality we don't think these characters, these actors aren't gonna be brought back. Because if you don't know, James Gunn and the whole situation, James Gunn rebooting the whole, well, slightly rebooting, I don't know, I'm not even going to try to get into that right now. But with the whole James Gunn taking over DC situation, that whole thing is really, people are just really thinking like, okay, there's not really much of a point for us to see this film in theaters if if we're never going to see this character again. And I think that's really a good argument for both the fronts, for like Marvel and DC. And I think just on the fact that those are comic book films, people are thinking, oh, it's going to be a big, spectacular thing. And I think that's another reason why like comic book movies are in kind of like a gray area right now, and that's because of fans' expectations. If you think of a film with Avengers, that's like Avengers Endgame. That was a film that was 10 years in the making, and it exceeded everyone's expectations. It exceeded everyone's thoughts of what it was going to be. Same thing with Infinity War. It exceeded expectations. And I think all comic book fans, and to an extent myself as well, like to a somewhat extent, not an entire extent, we all want the MCU films, and hell, even MCU TV shows, to be as good, if not better, than Endgame, which is something that I think is just not possible. Take an example with She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Everyone really did not like that show because they expected it because they did not expect it to be as good as Endgame or Infinity War or Civil War or whatever. Me, I liked the show because I knew what the show was going to be. I did not have any expectations going into it. I did not have any expectations of it being the best thing in the world or like the worst thing in the world. I just wanted to go in, forge my own opinion, and I thought it was a fun show. I thought it handled itself pretty well. Were there some problems with it? Absolutely. But I think one of the main issues with the comic book films right now is the fans' expectations of how we want them to be. And I think take a film like Batman, the Batman that came out last year with Robert Pattinson. We all expected that film to be incredible. We all expected it to be incredible, and it did awesome. It was good. It was incredible. But people really need to think that like everyone needs to stop thinking of like comic book films, and they really don't need to set a high bar for them. So like for example with let me think. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just gonna use that as another example. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, a film I'm very excited for. A film I'm so excited for. Do I have an expectation of it being one of the best MCU films in the entire MCU? No, I don't have that giant expectation because for all I know, the film will not do good. The film will not sit well with me. Because the film won't sit well with me and it will fail. That's my expectation of it. I'm not really trying to I'm really not trying to overhype myself and have my expectations go way farther than they need to be. And I know I'm just rambling on because I really did not think I was gonna I honestly did not think I was gonna make a video about this, but I didn't come up with a script or anything. If you guys know this channel, I just go by the seat of my pants. I just go with whatever spurts out of my mouth. But back on topic. But with the idea of comic book films, we're supposed to enjoy them. And with the fact that we're getting so many comic book films, and fans are expecting them to be top tier films, I think that's a reason why people are starting to think that comic book films are dying, because one, we're getting too many of them, and two, we're setting our expectations way too high for a lot of DC films. And I think that's something that we kind of need to just kind of realize and kind of stop doing, because if we set our expectations too high for a film, it'll just disappoint us in the end, and we'll think, the film was horrible, it didn't meet my expectations. Like, you're the one who set that expectation. So to answer the question, if comic book films are dying, I say no, they're not dying. It's just that there just can't be so many releasing at once, and we as an audience can't really give too high expectations for these films, because if we do, we're just going to get disappointed in the end. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought, what you think, what is your opinion on it, and if you think that comic book films are dying, or are they still at the or are they never going to die? That's my question. I personally don't think they're never going to die, but at the moment that they're in right now, they're in a gray area. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and you hit the bell icon so you never miss another one of my videos. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Joshua from Raiders Reviews, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.